Well, it's 6 o'clock. We're heading to call the meeting to order. First item will be roll call.
Brown.
Here.
David.
Here.
Gerke.
Here.
Gray.
Here.
Neal.
Here.
Walker.
Here. Say it.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone can take a moment of silence if they like. We'll take a motion to approve the agenda. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Everyone's had a chance to look over the previous meetings minutes. If there are no additions or corrections, they'll stand approved as presented.
Looks good to me.
We have no visitors and no public comment was sent in. So we'll move on to officers' report, to chief report.
Good evening, everyone. My report starts on page 3. Summer's kind of winding down. We transitioned from trauma into medical this time of year. Just put that simple fact in there because I always found it kind of interesting that a motor vehicle collision fatality rates are highest July through October. So early in the summer, they're really not that bad, but they start peaking late summer and go well into the fall. And that 4330 per month is the average over those July through October months, but it's north of 4,000 per month in the United States in general. So that's a surprising amount of motor vehicle fatalities. Equipment maintenance, we don't have any pending. I did want to add that the modems the board approved a few months back that were needed to keep in sync with the new software, new systems that are out there. They've been installed, the monitors are working great, everything's good on those. Clinical changes right now, we've been looking at several, kind of staring down the barrel at several drug shortages, pharmaceutical shortages. For whatever reason, they are some of the drugs that we really heavily depend on in critical situations. So we've got some protocols we've had to alter and use some alternate drugs. We've been planning for these all along, but I think we're to the point where we're going to have to put some of them into practice. So we're doing that in coordination with everybody, medical director and all of our clinical folks who take a look at it. Our FTOs will roll it out whenever we do have to switch. But primarily the ones we're looking at are sedation-based medicines. So for extreme behavioral situations or procedural sedation when we're doing something that hurts, those are pretty important meds in our line of work because it's just hard to do our job without those. So I think we found suitable alternatives. We're just in the process of hammering out those protocols right now. No major equipment stuff. I put some charts in here for this time and mainly just FYI, but I always found it interesting that our primary impression, that first chart, is what we find on scene. There's what you're told you're going to find on scene, and then there's reality. And they are rarely ever the same thing. But if you go to incident complaints but reported to dispatch, falls is always at the top of the list. What happens is we'll get a call for a fall and we'll get there and we'll find out something bigger or worse caused that fall. So that becomes our primary impression. So that's why those two numbers are kind of turned around, or at least not so drastically different as they are on one chart versus the other. I just found that kind of interesting. Incident by location type, there's no big surprises there. That's a smaller number for the hospital, but these I believe omitted some of the non-emergent transfers. This is all our hospital, higher level care type stuff that makes up that little bottom right triangle. The heat map over there, I didn't label it, but from left to right, I'll tell you what those blobs are. The far left one, there's one big one and one small one. That's pretty much that entire area over on West 16th by the Buffalo Healing Arts, the assisted living centers over there, all that medical complex stuff. That's basically going to be our Station 3 call volume right there in a nutshell, as well as what you see, those little 4 blobs there kind of together. That is South 65, basically everything south of Broadway. So that's primarily car wrecks out there is what we're getting. We get a few medicals from the hotels along that strip, but a lot of car wrecks. The next blob is kind of that top one, and it is basically the downtown area. I just labeled that one headquarters calls. Those are everything that's originating right here, one of the denser populated areas of the next one over is Bothwell. They're off of 16th. So that's all calls that originate from there, which makes up a substantial number of calls. There's one solitary little dot out there kind of towards East Boonville city limits county. We get several calls from the trailer park area out there, primarily medical. And then, of course, the far right one is going to be all our calls that originate at Station 2, and a very large portion of those come out of Pettis County Assisted Living and the nursing home. So that's kind of our main focus. It doesn't change much throughout the year. That's where the blobs remain, pretty much. The only where we've seen drastic changes or increases in calls is that western area out there by Buffalo.
What's up? Going north, right? North.
Not much.
Pretty healthy bunch up there.
Yeah, good
Healthy.
living, good healthy clean living.
Don't have phone lines to call in.
No, we do, we get a fair amount of car wrecks out there at the new area.
But Hughesville, Houston is rules pretty quiet.
Pretty quiet, yeah, just per capita. It's not even really enough to register on heat maps.
Do you get very many homeless people call?
For EMS, it's a few. I couldn't give you that number right now, but we do get them. But it's not as frequent as you would think. But we do have a pretty robust homeless population.
Yeah.
Just getting bigger now. Yeah, sure. Some of them come out of Bothwell for psychiatric placement around the state, and some they're pretty self-reliant folks for the most part. They usually don't call us until things have gotten really bad. So we do run up. It's generally a major medical type call.
So that's a good question. So one of the big focuses now, or one of the big coding things for us anyway, I don't know if it's for you guys coming, but social determinants of health, like homelessness, those kind of things, inadequate housing. Our payment is going to, in the future, we have to start coding that. I don't know if you guys, is on the pipe, coming down.
It probably, it's one of the major components to our, those charts that I make. I'll continue on. It's one of the major components in there. The problem with EMS and social determinants of health is our ability to gather that information. So, when you're talking about income or family stability or all those other deciding factors that get revealed in an in-depth assessment, we're back here on the street looking at airway, breathing, circulation, the big stuff.
Right.
So we get a little bit of extra homelessness, but the rest of it, we're usually not pretty.
Shopping carts usually a tip.
Good sign.
Are we allowed to record the ethnicity
Yes.
of people that we pick up?
Sure. Yeah.
So is that a significant thing?
No, not for Sedalia. No, I mean, it becomes significant for us when there's language barriers. But West County Joint Communications does a pretty good job of getting translators in line for at least their end of the call. And we've got a lot of different languages spoken here at PCAD, Russian, Ukrainian, Spanish, of course, English.
So we know before we go out if we need somebody to speak that.
Ideally. Ideally. We use a lot of family members.
An ambulance and then an interpreter.
Yes. Yeah, having to mime procedures is not a fun task. Honestly, a lot of our interpreters on scene are about fourth graders. The kids do a great job because they're bilingual by nature. We utilize them probably on anything.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but as far as our actual clients, the people who call EMS, yeah, we do track it, but it's not really significant. But we keep track of it because it's part of the NEMSIS data. It's part of that shared data that all the healthcare systems are trying to start using as a whole. Let's see. We had a dishwasher break out at Station 2 that was replaced. We went out and bought it. Our crews put it in, so no installation fees. We've been doing a lot of documentation, sexual harassment, sexual and other harassment classes, as well as, we did some HIPAA training for the board and the staff over the last month or so. We did get, you guys saw me bring in a box of moulage stuff, but behind you over there, Mr. Gerke, there's a big, I believe that's it. Yeah. We got a new training device for PCADs. If you're not familiar with those, if you know anybody who's had cancer, that's where you see a lot of them. They have that little lump under their skin that we can actually access. We're able to do that in the hospital, which is a wonderful thing because it keeps the patient from having to get poked again and prodded. It's just right there. You can't really miss them. We can use those for probably 80–90% of the stuff we do, unless it's like traumatic injuries where they're going to need larger items. So it's really nice to have that option. And they've kind of unified, the cancer centers have kind of unified those needles. We keep them in stock and we access them pretty frequently. So we now have a little trainer for those. Let's see. Our certified emergency vehicle operator supplies have came in. We're in the process of our instructors, including myself, getting certified to teach that class. So all the supplies look great. Looks like high quality stuff. I'm excited to get that going here in the near future. Mileage, no big changes. I did put Unit 8 in purple there because it has been decommissioned. It's destocked. There's nothing in it. It is a vehicle, but it is not worthy. It's not really worthy for EMS operation. So if we had to use it for some sort of standby event or some sort of drastic situation, it's still available. So we took all that equipment and put it back in the program. And the others, no surprises. They all go up by around 2,000 to 2,500 miles a month, depending on where they're located. Don't have any equipment maintenance to report other than, like I said, those modems being installed. I did want to mention right now through the first week of October, there's the RV rally out at the fairgrounds. If anybody's been out that way, I have not yet seen it, but we're already getting a couple of calls from that area. Nice thing is they have a group called Caring and Sharing, and they do these drives where they have these rallies to get all these toys collected, and then they donate the toys to our area services, law enforcement, fire, probably the hospital, and definitely EMS. So they'll be presenting those gifts or donations to us, and they're all nice and sterilized, wrapped and everything. So it is a really super thing they're doing. I will be going to receive those on October 6th. And I'll put a reminder out there when we're doing that.
And what do we do with them?
We give them out to kids.
Isn't that why we bought those other bags though?
No, sir. These are just purely like little comfort toys that have nothing to do with any behavioral type situation. But yeah, and they're much cheaper. So, well, to an extent, they're free, so you can't beat free. But we appreciate those donations. We do go through them quite a bit, probably more on fire standbys than anything for obvious reasons. Let's see, consideration of the board. We don't have anything for 5229. Next month, we have a labor management meeting scheduled towards first of the month, but other than that, it's getting to be that time of year where we start looking at, insurance, union negotiations and so forth, or whatever they've got going on, but nothing in the news right now. We don't have any FMLA pending issues, but we did have one full-time EMT who has changed from full-time to part-time status and is out on a short personal medical leave. By short, I mean probably no more than 2 months. So we're not paying for benefits or anything, if they did stay on the schedule, so we don't have to retrain them. They're just, when they're able to come back, they'll come back and hop on the trucks. But in the interim, they're working some as needed shifts. No work comp stuff pending, luckily. Some update available on hiring and staffing. We're kind of in the midst of that. But these are all replacement positions. We've got 2 EMTs and 2 ALS providers, one was nurse, one was medic. Kind of going through that initial phases of hiring, testing, and so forth. So they'll probably be on, and those are all PRN positions. So hopefully they'll be able to get trained up and start filling some roles. I'll have more detail as we go along and get them a little further along in the process. Other than the call volume, which is on page 7, no big surprises for August. Not really a record-setting month, but pretty busy. 903 calls total for both stations, or for both Windsor and PCAD. Windsor staying right at par, which is usually right around 100 calls a month. Not a lot of calls out of Golden Valley. No particular reason for that, but we have been running a fair share of mutual aid 911 calls over into Henry County, and sometimes those end up in transport, sometimes they don't. But if we're available, we've had to turn down a couple of mutual aid requests just because we didn't have a unit available to do something for them. But our status level zeros, on the other hand, we had several of them down south at Windsor. That's why the 16 on ours and the 1 on Windsor, and those are actually transposed. So my apologies for that. 16 status 0 events in Windsor and 1 in Sedalia, or Pettis County region. So I got those backwards. I do apologize for that, but nothing surprising there. We did have some short staffing, which it's anytime we're short staffed and one of the ambulances goes out down there, we're at status level 0. So not uncommon. I always like to point out that we did not have to turf any calls. We took care of all our fun stuff, and most of these are pretty short duration calls. That is all I have on my report.
So the only question I have on that is if I'm seeing this right, so it's the 3rd month in a row our total transports were behind last year.
As far
4
as
of the last 5.
transfers,
Or on transports, right? Is this what I'm reading right here? Total transports and then the prior year transports?
yeah.
So that's 4 of the last 5 months we've been behind last year.
Last year, yeah. That's a lot more refusals generally. The total call volume does remain the same in transports.
Or our ER volumes down too.
Is that right?
But
As far as our peak months, our peak times, peak during the week is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Oddly, you'd think Mondays would be busier, but they're actually our slowest.
They're still in the hospital.
Yeah. As far as the month-to-month call volume, I don't know what the reason is for that, other than, we do get a lot of refusals during the summertime, so there's always that disparity there. That's what I got.
Any other questions, Barry? You move on to approval of payment of outstanding bills. If there's any questions on those bills?
Under the Amazon business thing there, the flagpole backdrops, photo backdrop, crossbar. Is that some kind of like yearbook thing or something?
Yeah, we're putting photos up of the command staff and everybody else over across the street, so we actually have a wall of pictures of people that work here. The flag, as you see, was kind of liberated from this place, but it will be back. The backdrop, we
bought another one then?
For across the street. Yeah,
So where's the one that was here then?
that's a good question.
They're both across the street right now.
They're both across. There's probably not a great reason for that. But yeah, we're doing our own photos. The staff is doing it all themselves. We're doing all the printing, cropping, neat little photo effects. And we've had several people on staff that bring their own fancy little lights in, and they're doing that all for us. Also, we had to basically buy little frames and backdrops. So it'll be nice to have once we get it set up. And everybody, in their class Ds, the command staff in their class A uniforms, so basically you see the same thing, fire department, police department. There you go.
Any other questions on the bills?
I make a motion we approve.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Move on to unfinished business, employee job descriptions. EMS chief. Pages 17 to 20.
I don't think anything's changed
No.
in the chief or the CFO, I'm not sure
Yeah,
what
they're
your
like-
last draft, those are back.
Well, I have two questions. I have a question on the chief's one, where it says the authority to approve purchase orders of $2,500 or less. Does that match what we approved a month or so ago? We changed Eric's limit, but I don't remember if we bumped it to 2,500.
They bet 5,000 with a 2,500 per charge amount.
Yeah.
So it's limited to $2,500 for one purchase, but it's a $5,000.
So that would still be accurate because it's one purchase order would be 2,500.
I'm just curious.
For the record. I'm not.
I was just, I knew we changed it and I looked back and tried to find it, but
I noticed on page 19 that it is possible to drop out of high school and become a chief.
Yep, paramedic, chief, EMT. Yes, it is.
You can't drop out of grade school.
No, but I'm just saying, you know, you get the GED, but you still have to, it's,
you still have to be.
the post training is all set there. I just noticed that.
I didn't notice that.
That was the only question I had on your one.
Do we need approval for each of these or just review them?
This is what they are in the handbooks right now.
Like an update to review date on them without
If there are no other questions on the chief's job description, we can go to the CFO.
The only question I had on the CFO one is, do we need to include the billing piece of this now? When you look at the individual responsibilities.
We're talking about the responsibilities of the new billing system. Wouldn't that fall generically under the essential functions over there on the maintaining an adequate system? She's pretty much.
Well, kind of the adequate system of accounting records, so.
Well, billing's part of the accounting records, isn't it?
Really,
No,
It's
not really.
separate.
Is it separate?
Yeah, I would say.
it's an entirely system.
What do you suggest, Steve?
I would just suggest that I don't know how we phrase it or how Jamie would want to phrase it, but you know what your duties are with that, so you oversee the billing. And now collecting.
Yeah.
Where that was all the responsibilities of that other company before, so,
That's true.
and those are separate.
I always oversaw.
You oversaw the company, but now you're the end all be all.
You can hire, fire, or recommend, hire, fire. Training.
Good catch, then, Steve. I would- should- That would be one of the individual responsibilities, is that she's responsible for staff.
Overseeing of the billing and collecting. And I know you're doing a lot of that yourself right now, but you have people that do that for you, but you're already there with them.
If she were to be replaced and then somebody would come in and look at that and say, oh, I'm not ahead and do that, it's not my job.
But I'll come up with some things, bring it back.
Good idea.
Anything else on the CFO?
Anything like that.
Battalion chief.
The battalion chief. Yes, page 24. Basically, the only difference on this one and the captain one, when we first wrote these job descriptions, we hadn't been in service for a certain amount of years. And as we've now been in service for a decade, we can extend those out. That's all that is. It's just length of existence of PCAD.
So I'm assuming this battalion chief, this is Roy, right?
No, that's each shift has a battalion chief.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, another one.
He's the assistant chief.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So then, the only question I have in here is that you need to have the requirements at the bottom, instead of minimum of 10 years EMS as an ALS provider. But then when I was looking at the duties, it comes down here and it says, oh, other job function, perform duties of paramedic when required. Can EMS workers perform the duties of paramedic?
I'm not sure.
I'm thinking it should maybe it should be EMT. Yeah.
You have to be,
Do I have mine?
you have to be a paramedic to be a battalion chief. So they are always ALS providers. And basically it says the same thing in my job description.
But
Yeah,
ALS
that job.
provider is
Yeah.
a paramedic. Okay.
At this point,
Thank you.
paramedic. We may have to change that in the future to include other licensure levels.
Okay, good. That's good, because then that takes care of my other question, because I just want to make sure that, they could roll in as chief if you did, promoting from within, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
if ALS means paramedic, then I'm good.
It could mean RN, it could mean, as long as they're allowed to do advanced level care, which for
Okay.
EMS, for pre-hospital, generally that defining line is control.
And I got EMS confused with EMT, like it's right here, right? So,
Yeah.
okay.
How was 8 chosen previously?
For people who had started out in the EMS, we have new paramedics that came on initially.
And that has been satisfactory up to now.
Yeah, we just extended it out to 8 because,
And if we extend it to 10, will that preclude someone who would have been good at 8 from applying? They have to wait 2 more years and we would pass them.
I don't.
8 worked before, but it won't work now.
I don't believe so. Anything's possible. I think, there was always that question in any of these job descriptions about if you look at Indeed or anywhere else, it says preferred or required. So that really wasn't ever separated out in the year.
My point is it may eliminate a good applicant for just because they are a year or 2 short.
Yeah.
If you left it at 8, you could still be preferential to the 10.
I believe the 10 was kind of national average that we looked at again and rolled it back because we have that service all that.
It doesn't necessarily mean they worked here for 10 years.
Correct.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
So you just want somebody who's got a little longer in the tooth then.
Yeah, and a battalion chief, it's not just the EMS experience for them. At an ALS level, you have to deal with a lot more serious patients and serious circumstances. But the battalion chiefs they're on front line to any HR matter, just unless it, for some reason, comes straight to myself or Jamie. So they have that years of experience is where that really comes into play. Not so much for being a paramedic. I mean, to be quite honest, if you're a paramedic or functioning in Pettis County, Missouri, we've got you pretty well trained and broken in after 3 years, sometimes less. But just management of being in that position for that long and growing, but just maturing in that role, I think, is why it's kind of standard to have 10-year mark on that. I I don't think it would preclude anybody from it. I mean, if they did have less than that,
Yeah.
they're more than welcome to apply.
The only thing
5
that
years.
might preclude it because it says minimum.
Yeah, that's what it says, minimum, not preferred. I just didn't want to eliminate quality for the applicant for that, saying, well, screw it, I'm gonna go over here and then work for Johnson County.
Yeah, you're-
Yeah, I think given my choice, and that's a great point. Given my choice, that 10-year could be flexible. I don't think the other two are a good idea to make those flexible. In other words,
No,
I can parse those out into required, preferred, and bring them back next meeting if that's suitable.
yeah,
I think they need 5 years of working here. Got to get to know people and
All that, so, yeah, and just the way our chain of command and our span of control is set up, that's generally the case a lot of anyways. Yeah, I'll bring it back next time. I believe Captain, well, sorry, I get ahead.
Are there any other suggestions on the battalion chief? If not, we'll go ahead and look at the captain.
Similar to battalion chief, battalion chiefs are not on the truck routinely, I should say. They function as paramedics, they go out in the QRV and handle command of that scene, EMS command of that scene. The captains are on trucks, so they're functioning as a paramedic, they did transfers and 911 calls just like everybody else. But they have some management responsibilities outlined here. The only changes in this is, again, with your minimum experience. And for that position, I think, having considered that other one, I think this one would be okay with me. Again, they're kind of a front line to some of the more sensitive employment issues, not just the clinical part of it. But, part of being a captain is doing CQI, and to have the ability to review a call, say what was done correctly or incorrectly, I think is one of those things that requires that minimum operating experience.
Are there any other suggestions on the captain job description? Bring those items back then. What we're gonna do. Architect qualifications.
I believe those came out in the packet. We had 4 requests, actual, conversations with individuals or firms, I should say. We got 3 back, which came in the packets, and then I don't know if the other letter came in with a letter in there that,
I didn't have.
They weren't in the packet.
oh, I'm sorry, yes, those are passed around. Those are present. I'll take that. Since they're not official bid. Yeah, we received 3, 1 declined to put anything in, just too busy with other projects. And now I'm thank you. If anybody wants extra copies of those to take with them, but there's some good information. There's one of them that had some shared projects, just because I guess people move from firm to firm and they do a lot of cross consulting. Cross pollination. Yeah, it's. I think 2 of them had something to do with the eastern Johnson County base, which I believe is, I just call it Mount Oster. I think it's Station 5. So there's a little differentiation between design and architecture and construction and so forth. But they all had some interesting projects that were definitely applicable to our needs. The new JCAD base was built by the one of the names.
KRJ.
KRJ, yes, thank you. They had nothing but great things to say about them. I spoke with Shane Walker about that, the administrator up there. He was really happy with how things came out. The other ones were more Kansas City, larger pole barn type projects for storage of a bunch of ambulances for children, some hospital work, as well as some other ambulance spaces. So there's a lot of good options in there. I don't think I have an official recommendation for the board or anything tonight, but
I was painting in Warrensburg today and I stopped at the Johnson County Ambulance District. Went in, introduced myself and walked through that facility.
oh, good.
It's 5 years old, cost them $6 million. It's 10,000 square feet. They've got a lot of really neat stuff there. He didn't know the exact footprint of their land and he didn't know the exact costs on other things. The satellite site cost about $1 million, he thought, but he didn't have exact numbers on that. It's kind of a cookie cutter.
One in not Oxford.
Yeah.
Yes, as I recall, that's
I thought perhaps, and I don't know how the sunshine law applies to this board. 3 of us get in a vehicle and go somewhere, is that a meeting violation?
I don't recommend it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's.
Which is why, but 2 is okay. Well, of course it is, same sitting down for coffee, isn't it?
It is, it really, it's walking a fine line on, I mean,
It's
If-
different
if
from
business
sitting down
gets-
coffee and doing ambulance district business.
Yeah, but
if business gets brought up, if you're meeting for coffee per se, that could be,
in my experience, we did have some people come down when they were building the Cooper County new ambulance station. We had a couple board members come down, but it was large.
That's what I was getting at. If we could divide into 3 pairs and send 2 people to Johnson County, 2 people to Benton County, 2 people to Saline County, and take walkthroughs and come back and share what we saw that we liked, we didn't like, and ask some questions. Then we would be doing our due diligence as far as having a clue what we want to maybe shoot for.
I've reached out to all of our Jason ambulance districts and they are all completely.
They were very open to sending 2 people. Yeah, we'll talk to you,
We love-
show you everything we
visitors.
need. We'll open the place up for you, because that's first other ambulance district that I've actually walked through as a, with a bit of a critical eye, as opposed to just John Q. citizen. This is nice.
Yeah.
I started asking some questions, and I thought maybe it might be something we could do in the near future, to split up and sample. Who else wouldn't want to go to Montauk County, would we?
Possibly, yeah. Well,
Is that
Montauk's
what they got over there?
Morgan and Montauk are both covered by Mingo ambulance.
All right.
Lee
They have a
County
fairly new
is in-
facility over there.
They do. It's built in, with kind of a similar fashion in Norman, Oxford. I don't know if you stop by there, but it looks like a house with big tall garage doors.
Yeah, it's a one
setup.
crew station.
Pretty much. It's one crew and one backup ambulance.
Right.
He built, Lee Kemp is the administrator for Minmo, and they built a new one in California, which if you've been up that way lately, you kind of got to try to get to California. You usually drive right through it, but it's not too hard to find except for the fact that it looks like every other house in this new subdivision out there. I've actually got the plans for it. Lee was nice enough to give me the blueprints for it because it's I think about the footprint we're looking at as far as our needs. JCAD's obviously.
But if you wanted to see what KRJ architecture looks like, it's sitting there, we can go walk through the building.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know who did Benton County and who did Saline County, and
Benton has been mixed bag. They did a newer station in Lincoln, and I believe independent contractor from the area did it. And their primary building, I think, is just a Morton project. And it's nice. It's a big building. It's kind of a shared use thing with their local emergency operation planning commission, so they can have big meetings, or if there's a huge disaster down there, they use it as a meeting place. And it's been a while since I've been there. I believe there's 4 bays in it. It might be 5. It's a pretty large station.
well,
Saline.
Warrensburg's 5 drive-through bays.
Yeah, that's,
Mike, if it was 6 million 5 years ago, what would it be?
Oh, there's no telling, and that's what we need to come up with. Is it, are we building future headquarters
no,
or just satellite? That's two different things.
I don't think it's ever been on my mind to build it as a headquarters. Yeah, that's just me personally.
We're gonna strive to pay for this.
How many bays was the one in California,
California has 3 bays,
which is what we talked about over here?
unless we put.
Well, I'd be willing to spend some time going and visiting one or something. I mean, I'd do that, but if we can't all go at once because, we can't.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and I could do, if I'm part of that project, I could do little virtual, recordings of them inside and get everybody's video to look at what we saw. There's a pretty good, spectrum, I would say, of different ambulance spaces. Like I said, everything from the Norton building in Warsaw to the $6 million JCAD building to Saline County's kind of almost looks like more like a firehouse because it's built, it went with their construction there.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. They had to put an elevator in those. California is a lot like the Eastern Johnson County station, and then it's all bricked up. It's got heated aprons, so they don't ever have to have any, emergency plows or anything come out for them. But they've all told me, there's always little idiosyncrasies that they would change if they could go back in time. So, yeah, it would be silly not to use them as a resource for our research.
To me, we're gonna have to give ourselves a budget of what we're gonna do. I mean, looking at all these buildings are all probably gonna be more than I think what our budget is my opinion.
One thing I took away today, they have right inside, right down their hallway, they've got a mock ambulance built right into the side of the wall there where they practice loading and unloading and all that stuff. And they painted it up nice on the side. It was kind of artistic and functional both, and it didn't take up very much space.
Yeah.
But I could see there'd be a good use for that, for learning how to use some of the new equipment and things.
Yeah.
Just little things like touches like that, we might be able to. Oh, they also had a series of conference rooms that had collapsible walls in there too, so that you could have 2 or 3 different meetings, one small meetings or one larger one, and that was pretty good use of space. Those are just things I picked up walking through their halls.
Well, like I said, you can also use those as shared community resources too. Other people can have meetings in there. The breakout rooms they're basically a necessity. The only reason we didn't do it here is because we just didn't really have the space. We sneak off into these side rooms, and now they're all full of pillars and whatnot over here. But those breakout rooms for all of the classes we do, there's always a didactic portion, and then we go into all the skill stations. There are always breakout classes, and it's a little noisy in here when that's going.
I didn't go in, but I did hear him use the term Murphy beds.
Yeah, JCAD's always used a lot of Murphy beds.
Yeah.
They're space saver. They're easy to maintain. They're not.
Crew sleeping and stuff, so just little things like that a guy can pick up if he went to enough places.
Yeah, I've talked to Shane quite a bit over the years, several years. Giving me some good pointers as far as staying on top of, different architects, might want to put a $500 doorknob on somewhere, and so you gotta kind of pay attention to little stuff like that.
He said they didn't put any stainless steel trim up anywhere, it's all budget trim for corners and stuff. Save some money there, but it still cost them $6 million. They have 10,000 square feet, it's huge.
And it was $6 million.
That's their headquarters used to be out on the south end of I guess it's called Business 13 now. And it's still used as a station. I know Rawlings, I think, did a remodel up there. One of those did a remodel of their old headquarters building, but it was just really basic. It had 2 bays, a bunch of bedrooms, and some small offices. So when they moved to this new one, they've implemented this paramedic program, which is going full speed ahead. They had a lot of staffing issues, so they decided to start growing their own. Paramedics, that is, I'm clarifying. Yeah, well, it's, yeah, anyhow, yeah, they really built the place with the education. Not just like I said, the ambulance, the paramedic programs, the breakout rooms, they did it really nice. The extremes, the ends of that is Central Jackson County has an amazing EMS station with auditorium style seating, and they use it for everything. And it's, the St. Charles Ambulance District has a fantastic shared community resource. Everything they have there, anybody can come in and use it. So that's one of the ways to help get the community kind of sold on the higher cost of things, was bringing that and saying, hey, all you gotta do is give us a time and date. You can come in and take care of your business. No drunken parties or anything. But yeah, it was pretty neat how they managed to incorporate the public need as well. Kind of soften the blow of the added expense. And it was about $30 million. So,
Well, we have, I guess, looking at some of these, give us some general ideas, but we haven't put together what money we intend to spend ever. Or, I mean, I know of one we thought $750,000, that ain't gonna get us nothing.
Well, the last meeting, Jamie had a figure there that she came up with that was doable.
And what was that? I don't.
Well, 2 million is, I think,
the-
very top, which is basically 6,500 square feet at $300 a square foot. That's,
And I bet we can't do this 300.
yeah, we won't know until we get closer. But we gotta have a plan to even get an estimate, so.
So are you gonna come up with some recommendation on one of these, or how we gonna do that?
I think that'd great. I think that'd be fine. I don't think we're gonna get any more than what we've got. We can always go after more. But that's the only thing that's outstanding out there is that we didn't go after was more buildings. They've got some, I don't want to say cookie cutter designs, but they put a lot of ambulance stations together that are really basic, like Warsaw. So that might be another option to explore along with these.
Go look at one.
Yeah, that's honestly.
Do you know who to talk to for that? I'm more.
Don't they have one in Covent, Morton?
There's one down, there's one or two down there. There's one of them that is, it's not Morton, but it's basically the same.
It's just a metal building,
Yeah, again, what is it?
it's just a metal building.
Yeah, like,
Okay.
yes, the building, I'm sorry, I thought you meant the actual. There's a group that builds those down there, I can't think of off the top of my head.
It was Jennifer Morrisburg, I think, Reese back. So who did that one?
At any rate, yeah, you can get a lot better idea, but what Mr. Gray was just talking about, get out there and see. That's the best.
Yeah, I enjoyed the 15 minutes I had there. It's like, this is new and different.
And they did a lot with a pretty small space there. That lot they built on was kind of a mess before they started. So I don't know if you got a chance to talk to Shane about it. It's kind of interesting how they put that whole together and still made it work. It's not the greatest location, physically speaking, in the city. I think they did a good job. But yeah, I think if that suits the board, I think I'd like to find something in these options to go.
Maybe if you would reach out to the Morton building first.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I imagine these guys have got bigger numbers than in minds.
I think the RFQs, I don't have it with me. I did not bring that over with me. I think we gave them kind of a target range, but it was only around 1.1, somewhere around there.
Was it?
Yeah, so it's probably like you said, not nearly enough. But, yeah, I didn't see something in common on all three of them, pretty much is projected cost and actual was always higher on the actual, so. Yeah, not by much, but it was never the same price.
if you want to put a recommendation together and reach out to the Morton folks, and we can kind of compare.
Now, I'd like to call the references. I mean, I've talked to a few of them just already. And one of them I know had a couple reference letters. I'm not sure they all had reference letters.
The full disclosure, I gave the HD name to Eric.
Are they all percentage based?
I believe so. There's some minimums that would apply to us in there, but yeah.
Yeah, the RFQ said $1 million, so.
Yeah, I'll check some references, look into Morton and report back.
Any other questions on architects? If not, we'll move on since we have no new business. Are there any announcements? Now that would take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.